They called her the Blood Countess, a woman of grace and horror. Her name was Elisabeth Báthory, the most feared lady in the lands of Hungary. But behind the crimson legends lies a story far more haunting than blood itself. Elisabeth Báthory was born in 1560 into one of the oldest and richest noble families of Transylvania. A child of power, educated, fluent in 4 languages, and raised among whispers of politics and war. Her relatives included princes, bishops, even kings. They said she was brilliant, but brilliance in isolation becomes a mirror for madness. At the age of 15, she was married to Count Ferenc Nadasdy, a famous general known as the Black Hero of Hungary. Their wedding feast lasted 3 days, and it's said that 4,000 guests came to witness their union. But even in the glow of torches and music, some claim to see something cold behind her smile. The young countess moved to her husband's vast castle in Székely, a fortress surrounded by mountains and silence. When Ferenc went to war, Elisabeth ruled alone. She managed the estate, the servants, and the lives of those who depended on her. And in that isolation, her curiosity began to wander toward darker corners of the human soul. In the late 1500s, beauty was not vanity, it was power. A woman's face could open doors, seal alliances, or doom kingdoms. And Elisabeth, surrounded by aging courtiers and dying empires, feared only one thing: time. She studied herbs, elixirs, and alchemy. She kept mirrors in every room, each one showing her the passage of youth. It's said she owned a book of shadows, a secret journal where she wrote formulas for eternal youth. But beauty once worshipped becomes a curse. One story tells that a servant girl once brushed her hair too roughly, and in anger, Elisabeth struck her so hard that blood splashed on her skin. Later, she noticed the spot looked smoother. You may call it myth or the seed of madness, but for Elisabeth, it became revelation. From that day, whispers began. Girls from nearby villages disappeared. Servants vanished without trace. The walls of Székely Castle became a labyrinth of secrets, where candlelight flickered over red-stained stones. But was it truth, or the echo of fear born from jealousy? In her loneliness, Elisabeth surrounded herself with strange company. Women accused of witchcraft, healers, midwives, and servants who followed her orders without question. Together, they practiced rituals meant to preserve youth, fortune, and strength. Villagers claimed to see strange lights at night, and to hear the distant echo of screams carried by the wind. Yet the Countess continued to host banquets, to receive nobles, to act as the perfect lady. In her chambers, perfumes filled the air, lace gowns shimmered, and music played softly. But beneath the perfume was something darker, a rot that no fragrance could mask. She began to write letters to scholars and occultists, asking about the power of blood, about whether it could heal or grant vitality. Even her husband, the Black Hero, knew something was wrong, but said nothing. Perhaps he feared her. Perhaps he understood her too well. When Ferenc died in 1604, something in Elisabeth broke. She withdrew entirely from the world, and the castle grew silent again, except for the whispers. By 1609, rumors had spread beyond the villages. Too many daughters of peasants had vanished after being sent to the castle as servants. When even noble girls began to disappear, the king himself ordered an investigation. Leading it was Count Georgi Thurzo, a former ally and distant relative. On a cold December night, he rode through the snow to Székely Castle with soldiers, priests, and torches. What they found became legend. In the Great Hall, they claimed to see blood on the walls. In the chambers, lifeless bodies of servants. And in one corner, the Countess herself, calm, dressed in black, watching them as if they had interrupted a prayer. When Thurzo confronted her, Elisabeth replied quietly, "Do you not believe that those who envy the powerful will always invent monsters?" She was arrested, but never brought to trial. The king wanted her executed, but her family's influence protected her. Instead, they sealed her in her own room, with no windows, no visitors. Only a small opening through which food was passed, and there she remained for 3 years. Alone in the dark, she wrote on the walls, prayers, curses, fragments of poetry. No one knows for sure. Some guards said they heard her speaking to someone, though she was completely alone. Others claim they saw light coming from her room at night, faint and red, like the glow of dying embers. On the morning of August 21st, 1614, she was found lying peacefully on her bed, pale, still, and smiling faintly. She was 54 years old. No one ever opened the walls to see where she was buried. Some said the villagers refused to let her rest on holy ground. Others whispered her coffin was empty. After her death, the stories grew. They called her the most prolific female murderer in history. Some said she killed 80 girls. Others claimed over 600. But historians still argue, were the testimonies real or fabricated by men who wanted her lands and wealth? Documents reveal that the witnesses were tortured before they spoke. Many of the victims were never proven to exist. And yet, the legend lived on. Elisabeth Báthory became a symbol of vanity, power, and the fear of aging. A mirror for all who chase beauty until it devours them. Even centuries later, her shadow lingers in books, plays, and films. Some say Bram Stoker drew inspiration from her when he created The Brides of Dracula. And perhaps in that sense, her wish came true. To live forever, not in flesh, but in legend. If you visit the ruins of St. Castle today, you'll find only broken walls and silence. But when the fog rolls down from the mountains, locals say they sometimes see a light in the tower. A single candle flickering behind a sealed window. They say it's her, still searching for her reflection, still afraid of what time has taken away. Because for Elisabeth Báthory, time was the only enemy that blood could never defeat. Beauty fades, but legend is forever. Subscribe to Dark Age Tales, where history never sleeps and never dies.